This phone is the greatest wealth generation device ever created. And this phone, you can start from $100. Every person has that opportunity to do this. By the age of 21, I was earning more money than I could spend. I was dating beautiful women. I was flying business class, but I wasn't on purpose. And now I'm on purpose, just speaking on this podcast, hopefully inspiring at least one person, teaching a few people about. I've met billionaires in my life. At the age of 22, I had like 6 employees, and I had $100,000 in my credit card debt. There's a lot of great things about Pakistan too. Islamabad is seen as safer than New York. If you go to San Francisco, the multi-billion-dollar companies, outside you'll see homeless people.
बड़ी-बड़ी कंपनीज का आपने नाम लिया, कैसे एक एवरेज पाकिस्तानी को जॉब मिलेगी?
ये जो opportunity है ना, that's big. आप compete कर सकते हैं with any American from here. If you solve, you will make more money. They would be happy to give me $1 million for my time. What's holding you back from your success to that level you want? My biggest regret actually is self-doubt. I didn't believe in myself enough. I think that I would be much further in my life if I just believed in myself more. You can go much faster, right? अगर आप हमेशा doubt करते रहते हो, your parents are gonna say, "What are you crazy?" Like many people are gonna tell you no. I want to talk about mindset because it's so important for people to understand.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, वेलकम टू लोकल टॉक्स। आज हमारे साथ गेस्ट हैं आमिर अंजुर। ही इज़ बीन एन एंटरप्रेन्योर और अभी करंटली CMO हैं पाकिस्तान सॉफ्टवेयर एक्सपोर्ट बोर्ड के। एंड ही समबडी हु रेजोनेट्स विद द पोजीशन एज वेल, बिकॉज मैंने पर्सनली भी देखा है लिंक्डइन पे जिस तरह आप पाकिस्तान के ब्रांड को कैरी कर रहे हैं फॉर ऑल द फॉरेनर्स एज वेल। सो आई फील दैट यू रेजोनेट विद द पोजीशन अ लॉट। सो वेलकम टू द शो सर।
Thank you for having me and thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. And we'll start from here. पाकिस्तान सॉफ्टवेयर एक्सपोर्ट बोर्ड है क्या और ये एज अ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन करता क्या है?
It was set up in 1995 और उसके it works under the Ministry of IT and Telecom और हमारा जो purpose है is to increase the software exports of the country. That means getting people jobs and getting exports in those jobs. So ये जो IT outsourcing होती हैं companies करती हैं, startup, not as much startups, but companies जो अपने आप को, they sell their IT services, etc. to the US. For instance, 56% of our exports go to the US, then about 10% to the UAE, and about 8% to UK. और ये लोगों को hire करती हैं और call centers and also freelancers. How do we make life for all of these categories?
तो freelancers भी आपके अंडर ही आते हैं वैसे कि?
जी, उनको भी हम लोग, like for instance, अभी payment solutions are a big headache, so we're working on making their life easier through bringing in some of these payments providers like Nsave, Elevate Pay, इस तरह के भी आए हुए हैं. तो these are niche, but we're also working on bringing better solutions, which might take some time, but ease of doing business is our thing. So हम लोग जो करते हैं, एक तो demand side, how do we create demand around the world for made in Pakistan companies, and then the supply side, how do we train up our people कि उनको AI या cloud या DevOps में उनको skills हों so they can sell themselves at a premium.
So you're training people as well?
Yes.
And are these like organizations जिनको आप train कर रहे हैं, or are these like people as well individually?
For instance, हमारा एक program है. We give interns, apprentices to companies. We pay for them 60 for 6 months. तो उनके लिए like graduates that have at least 2 years experience. 2 years, up to 2 years post-graduation, they can apply for apprenticeship, and companies that are exporting in Pakistan, उनके लिए हम लोग 30,000 rupees हम लोग उनकी तनख्वाह दे देते हैं for up to 6 months. और फिर the hope is that after they graduate in 6 months of this working with a company which PSEB has paid their tanha, so they get hired by that company because we've invested into hire their salary, the company's invested in training them, and then they get hired by the company. So that's just one of them, but we have other training programs that we launch and improve supply.
And this is more centric towards Pakistani audience and the Pakistani sort of resources. वो लोग जो पाकिस्तान में रहते हैं और वो एस्पायर कर रहे हैं फ्रीलांस वर्क करने को.
जी, पाकिस्तानी बेस्ड इन पाकिस्तान, मगर हम लोग कंपनीज़ को फॉर इंस्टेंस हम लोग लेके जाते हैं उनको एग्जिबिशंस अब्रॉड. तो ये अभी जाइटेक्स हुआ है दुबई में, या टेक क्रंच हुआ है सैन फ्रांसिस्को में. हमारी PSEB gives 30% subsidy, TDAP, Trade Development Authority of Pakistan, gives 30%, and the company pays 40%. So companies like some companies that would never afford to go abroad, PSEB facilitates a bit with the visa, which is often a challenge. Yes. So we try to facilitate. It's not in our remit and we can't guarantee it, but because they're going with the government delegation, it makes it easier to get a US visa or Dubai visa, and then pick up clients by exhibiting in Saudi Arabia. We go to Leap, in Dubai, Jitex, and TechCrunch in San Francisco, London Tech Week. इस तरह के लेके जाते हैं.
I think it's a good thing. Do you think कि इस पे एक आम पाकिस्तानी है who is a freelancer, या मैं एक कंपनी रन कर रहा हूँ, मैं कैसे रजिस्टर हो सकता हूँ PSEB में?
वो techdestination.com हमारी वेबसाइट है, तो उधर जाके रजिस्टर हो सकते हैं. It costs like 2,000 rupees I believe for a freelancer, और आपको instead of paying 1% tax, you would end up paying 0.25% tax.
अच्छा, अगर आप PSEB में हैं तो टैक्स भी रिबेट भी आपको बेनिफिट है.
Yes.
अच्छा, nice.
There's a benefit to registering.
रजिस्टरिंग बेनिफिट है. अच्छा, मुझे बताएं, डू यू थिंक कि जो पाकिस्तान का एक्सपोर्ट करने सॉफ्टवेयर जो टैलेंट है वो इंक्रीज कर रहा है ईयरली बेसिस पे?
Yes, it's increasing. अगर हम लोग देखते हैं, it's increasing about 21-22%. We currently export 3.8 billion, and over 40% of our service economy is in the technology sector. So services is thing. So ये है कि we are increasing every year. We have a target of 15 billion of exports by 2030, and we're working hard to now go towards that target.
So क्या आप ऐसा क्या कर रहे हैं जिसकी वजह से do you think you can achieve that target?
For instance, branding of Pakistan. I think that's, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And being a chief marketing officer, for me, brand is very important. So branding, just explaining to people what branding is about and how we can brand Pakistan better is one way for us to get there.
कैसे करेंगे आप पाकिस्तान को ब्रांड? सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज, फाइनेंशियल इश्यूज पाकिस्तान में, टूरिस्ट फ्रेंडली नहीं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सपोर्ट नहीं करता. हाउ यू विल ब्रांड पाकिस्तान?
देखें, there's a lot of great things about Pakistan too, right? You can look at security wise, a website I can't remember, but the name of it, but Islamabad is seen as safer than New York, right? So ये है कि मैं भी अभी Islamabad, I shifted 18 months ago. I haven't had my phone stolen. I haven't been held at gunpoint or any of that sort of stuff. And I'm sure it's similar with you guys. So you can look at, in PR, they say, if it bleeds, it leads. So यहाँ पे news media, they sensationalize के बहुत security issues हैं, etc. But I think if you look at the stats, we're safer in many cities, especially like Islamabad, or कोई अगर गाँव से देख रहा है, like how much crime is there really? Maybe in certain pockets of a big city, but if you go to San Francisco, और आप Twitter के headquarters के पास जाएं, which are multi-billion-dollar companies, outside you'll see homeless people, right?
अच्छा, इतना अच्छा है पाकिस्तान में, आपने बताई इतनी पॉजिटिव चीज़ें, ये वो पाकिस्तान छोड़ के लोग क्यों जा रहे हैं?
देखिए, primarily reason is economic, right? यहाँ पर I can talk about a friend जो he studied dentistry in Pakistan. Dentist का उसने exam दे के गया और he passed high marks, and then I wouldn't know what the starting salary for dentist is, but not more than 75,000 rupees, right? Let's say. तो उधर वो अब यूनिवर्सिटी में गया है, one of the top universities in America, and the starting salary for dentists is $240,000 to $350,000 a year. So ये America is like you know, you're making $20,000 a year a month, right, for being a dentist. You're doing the same work, yes. Why I'm passionate about Pakistan and the opportunity is क्योंकि अगर आप digital में काम करते हैं तो it doesn't matter right now if we're sitting in Manhattan या Islamabad, right? तो ये जो opportunity है ना, that's big, क्योंकि अब जो है आप compete कर सकते हैं with any American from here. Now with being a dentist you can't do that, right? कोई fields हैं जो आप you have to physically sit on the chair, you can't cut hair. अब मैं
अच्छा, वो फील्ड IT रिलेटेड जो फील्ड्स हैं जिस पे आप बैठ के यहाँ से काम कर सकते हैं, वो ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल है कि आप यहाँ से जो सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट,
अगर आपको रिमोट वर्क अलाउड है, राइट? अभी इसमें लोग बहुत पैनिक कर रहे हैं इन अमेरिका वगैरह के, लाइक एवरी जॉब इज़ गोना बी आउटसोर्स्ड, स्पेशली विद AI, क्योंकि यहाँ पर अगर स्किल्स लोग ले रहे हैं तो वो फिर you know, I don't care what my developer sits. If it's in Karachi, या Stanford, या किधर भी बैठे, but those digital skills, you can earn $10,000 a month here, yes? But as I said, being a doctor, doctors make good money there. All these types of professions जो brain drain है, वो उधर बेहतर है. But also, even being a programmer, if you get a job in FANG, they call it, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and is NVIDIA, G is Google.
कैसे एक एवरेज पाकिस्तानी को इतनी बड़ी बड़ी कंपनीज का आपने नाम लिया जॉब मिलेगी उनको?
वो मुश्किल से, मगर अमेरिका में there is opportunity to be an entrepreneur is a lot easier, क्योंकि उधर loans भी मिल जाते हैं, small business loan for instance. आप you go work in a Burger King and you want to open up your own franchise, you can go to the small and medium business bureau and you can get a loan for starting your own franchise. इस तरह की चीज़ें, more opportunities are there, definitely. But Pakistan has its own sweet spots. Now, एक तो family support system है इधर. For instance, I've started companies and I've failed multiple times as well in companies. In the UK, if I start a company and I fail, the government will take care of me, right? They will pay for my housing, they'll give me a bit of pocket money, and I won't starve on the streets, right? Pakistan mein, if you fail in a business, you also won't starve because you'll have some family that will take you in. And also you won't do that startup without stretching too much beyond your means. Kyunki aap startup karoge, but you will have cash in your bank account because you can't get loans from anywhere except if it's a private individual, right?
So, I do understand कि पाकिस्तान में the real opportunity is there कि आप पाकिस्तान में रहते हुए freelance या outsource काम कर रहे हो for a better economy. They're paying you in that better sort of currency. और the overall arbitrage of this system means कि आप पाकिस्तान में आपके expenditure relatively कम होंगे तो on a net saving level आप एक अच्छा return बना रहे हैं. While this works and I can understand कि as an organization you're supporting that, but do you see कि where is it heading to? अब जो भी लोग relevant होंगे वो सब सिर्फ बाहर की कंपनी के लिए काम करना चाह रहे होंगे. Once they start earning in dollars, they would not want to work for a Pakistani company, and maybe Pakistani tech startups in itself would probably suffer.
Many many companies are American companies. ये पाकिस्तानी लोग होते हैं, but they open up an LLC, a US-based company या Dubai-based company. They want to say that they're not in Pakistan क्योंकि कभी कभार ये भी हो जाता है कि client थोड़ा कहता है कि if you are based in California, they feel more safe investing in you. But the brains behind it might be a Pakistani and the the staff might be sitting here. So ye hai ke, that's definitely a thing. But I think, because as I explained, that the average Pakistani is making $1,500 and average Americans making $70,000, if you solve rich people problems, you will make more money. Yes? Because let's say if I have a website, like an Amazon, for instance, and let's say Amazon does $1 billion a year, to keep it simple, it does much more. And I improve it by 1% because I make the font a little bit better. Yes? That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's $10 million worth of savings that I bring that company. And if I was a consultant, they would be happy to give me $1 million for my time. Now let me do that same thing in Mudassir.com, right? Let's say it's a much smaller e-commerce site that's making $1,000 a year, yes? And I bring in that same font change, which improves that company by 10%. Then I've only brought in $100 worth of value, yes? So wo $100 worth of value, then they would only pay me $10 for my time.
Yes.
Yes? So aap rich people problem solve kare na, so then you will make more money. So that's why all the big companies that are exporting, like Systems, 10 Pearls, all these companies that have big clients are in the US. Maine jo apna career start kiya tha, I started with a company called Accenture. Accenture does $260 billion a year, right? And it does it because it focuses on the Fortune 500 companies. Fortune 500 companies are the biggest 500 companies in the world, like Coca-Cola, like Nike, like Google, because that's what it means when we say Fortune 500 companies. And these companies, because if I can go to, let's say, a McDonald's, and I can make one tiny improvement in McDonald's. I change their font from an M to an M with a slight curve, and it makes people buy 10% more fries. That, because they have 30,000 branches across the world, I make so much more money, right? Magar agar main jata hu koi kisi khoke mein in a gaon, he doesn't have that ability to scale, right? So that's why, solve rich people problems is one of the things that I would say and encourage people to look at. Even if you're solving problems in Pakistan, see what the people that have the most disposable income, what their issues are, right?
And maybe they would be making more money, and then probably they would create more value for Pakistan as a result.
Yes.
Once they have more money to spend in Pakistan, then.
Yes. Like if you make more money, you're spending more money. But look, you were a success with your Bitcoin and your crypto world. Now you've invested in a studio, right? You wouldn't have, now you have staff that do your editing and your podcasts, and you're reinvesting into the economy. Agar aap you were not as lucky, or I wouldn't call it luck, I would call it smart or whatever, financially, you wouldn't have money to spend. Right now you'd be stressed out. I mean, there's a lot of stress in Pakistan as well, right? I'm talking about the elite, but main dekhta hu, like these guys on the motorbike, and I wonder why he doesn't, one of my uncles, he carries petrol in the back of his car. मैंने कहा ये क्या वो बदबू आ रही है? वो कहते हैं कि कभी कभार मैं देखता हूँ वो रोड साइड पे the motorbike wala has run out of gas, तो मैं उसको उनके लिए रखता हूँ तो वो हो जाए. So that, there's an extreme level of poverty too, कि वो इतना उनके पास पैसे नहीं होते कि they keep the petrol as, they don't have the the 2,000 rupees to keep it at a thing. So they are always playing with the thing. And I've been an entrepreneur, and I know what it's like to be close to zero and having to make payroll, और लोगों की तनख्वाहें दें और आपके पास पता नहीं है पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, and you don't have money for the petrol station, और इस तरह का stress भी लोगों के पास होता है. And if you can get a job as a dentist in America and make $20,000 a month, then why not do it?
I sort of understand. और वही बात है कि मुझे लगता है कि जिस तरह आपने बात की कि पाकिस्तान में स्ट्रेस की एक बहुत मेजर फैक्टर वेल्थ है. एंड व्हेन वी वाज, हमारा भी ये जो पॉडकास्ट स्टार्ट करने का रीज़न था ना, दैट वाज मोर अराउंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग हाउ पीपल आर सॉर्ट ऑफ क्रिएटिंग वैल्यू एंड क्रिएटिंग वेल्थ. एंड हम जिस तरह बात कर रहे हैं अभी इस टॉपिक पे, अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल वुड अंडरस्टैंड कि they can be doing sort of IT related work for some firm in US, but a lot of people would not have that access as well. लोगों को IT के बारे में भी शायद नहीं मालूम होगा. How would you simplify wealth creation for people who are maybe not having a lot of skills of that sort? Because a lot of skills are probably not highly in demand as well, right? For somebody who's not that skillful, but he's not that maybe early teens as well, he's maybe in his 30s and he feels like the immediate need to make wealth, right? How would you see, just आपने बताया कि in your entrepreneurship journey you've sort of hit close to zero as well. If you sort of position that young man, in his maybe early 30s, he has a lot to look forward in life. He has a lot of time, but he does not really have a lot of resources. And if you position yourself there, how should he start? अब उसको क्या करना चाहिए?
देखिए, first you have to understand कि wealth है क्या चीज़, पैसा क्या चीज़ है. पैसा जो है ना, it's a story, right? Story of that humans have created, right? When you go back to caveman days, there wasn't money, there wasn't like a 100 rupee note, right? वो लोगों ने, before they used to trade things, right? कि मैं I would have fish and I would trade you for meat, इस तरह. So what money is and what wealth is, it's a number in a database, right? If you're worth $1 million right now, or if you're worth negative 100,000 rupees, it's a number in the database. So first of all, you got to realize कि आपके mental health impact हो रही है because of the stress of the situation. It's normal, right? So you have to first figure out कि how do I create wealth in the world, right? Or in order to create wealth, you have to create value, yes? And in order to create value, you might have to do things for free for a long time, yes? ये लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि I have a job opportunity, but they're not giving any money. It's an internship. I don't get paid. But if you can afford to do it, right? Get the experience, create value. क्योंकि आप कोई startup join कर लो, they will give you a percentage. If you create value, वो automatically आपको पैसे देने लगेंगे. तो first, remember that money is creating value and some benefit to society, right? What has Elon Musk done? Elon Musk, richest man, he's created cars that are being used by millions of people, and people believe that he will create more and more money, and so that's why he's creating more and more wealth for himself, right? So you don't need to think that big, and I do think, not to be a downer, but it's harder to be an Elon Musk from Pakistan. We don't see any of these heroes in terms of economic champions because there's certain things in the US that help create wealth. But you can be a millionaire from here, yes? And you don't have to be even a millionaire. You can just get a house and start slow. But you need to work towards it, right? You need to, if you have a job right now, 9 to 5, then you need to work 5 to 9 on your side hustle and the weekends on your side hustle and not watch Netflix and do some ideas. Many things are not going to work. But in this day and age, you can study and learn. Go to ChatGPT and say, generate me 10 ways of making money, right? I have these skills. I'm a programmer. I am not a programmer. How can I teach myself programming? Yes. You don't have to be a programmer. You could be in sales. Yes. Sales, every company needs sales and marketing, including brands like Pakistan. But how do you sell something? How do I take this? And one way to start, like the way that my digital journey began, when I was working in my corporate job in 99, I was 21, I was looking for opportunities to start a business, right? Because I was done with my corporate job. I was bored. I wanted to escape. And I started looking. I was like, should I start a restaurant? Acha, restaurant shuru karne mein, you need money. You need $100,000. I didn't have that kind of money. Should I start a clothing brand? Should I start this? At least I was working on the weekends, thinking about ideas. What can I do? What can I do? So that brain starts thinking, yes? And then mera tha ke I came across Amazon.com. Amazon mein, because I was hearing all this thing about the internet bubble and how the internet was making people rich. फिर मैंने Amazon की एक link देखी, associates it was called, which in more common language is called affiliates, right? उसमें वो सिखा रहा था कि अगर आप एक किताब बिकती है on Amazon.com for $10 and they will give you a unique link to that book, yes? And उस link से, if someone clicks on that link and they end up buying from Amazon, Amazon will give you $1, right? So what I started doing, and when I learned this about affiliate marketing, I was like, wow, I can make money from anywhere, and this is going to change societies. And I was passionate about Pakistan, even though I was living in London. I was like, it's going to change everything for Pakistanis too, right? Because we can then generate wealth for ourselves, right? Because if I can market something better than Amazon, I can make money. Now you talk about a $10 book, but imagine like a $500 camera, right? Then you're making $50, yes? So that affiliate marketing is what started my journey on the digital front. And if you look at it, there's hundreds of models online, right? Including creating your personal brand. I do that. The way you invited me on this show is because you followed me on LinkedIn. What did it cost me to create these articles? It cost me nothing except for time, yes? And that time, when I go to the gym, मैं सुबह उठता हूँ, जब मैं gym जाता हूँ, I'm working on a blog post. I'm lifting or going on a treadmill, and I'm writing a blog post. It takes me 20, 30 minutes. I have the first draft. It's something creative or something in my field, which right now, because I happen to be promoting Pakistan, so it's promoting Pakistan. And I think about something unique in that. And then I use ChatGPT to polish it up. And because I heard that AI is important, and I'm seeing how AI, even as a writer, it's better writer than I am.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting hundreds and thousands of views on this. I use a free platform. LinkedIn is free. I'm not paying premium $99 a month. I'm paying, I post that same post on LinkedIn, Facebook, Facebook, Instagram. So I generate the image as well. I don't pay for an image editor. पहले मुझे किसी को Photoshop का बोलना पड़ता था. मैं अब उसी post का बोलता हूँ, generate me an image for this post, और वो image create कर लेता है. And if it's something wrong with the image, I say do this to it, and then it gives it to me. So I'm creating value for the world. I'm marketing myself, right? And so I can then if I create. Now, my first 100 posts hardly got any likes, right? But then 1 or 2 just took off, yes? And my following just took off. And this is what will happen. Mr. Beast, he's one of the most followed YouTubers worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He says, don't talk to me until you've made your first 100 videos, right? Log kya karte hain? They're camera shy. I was also camera shy, right? I didn't want to be on TV, right? I remember going to a Tony Robbins event. He's a super motivational guy. I recommend people check him out.
Yeah.
And it was like, what's holding you back from your success to that level you want? And I was like, I'm not at the level of Steve Jobs. And what's the difference between me and him? I've heard about him and no one's heard about me. And why? Because he's on media, etc. Right? So I had to get over my own fears, looking out at my own face, listening to my own voice, all these fears and limiting beliefs that said, okay, that's holding me back from spreading my message. And that is what people have to get out of, right? You have got the television station in your very pocket, this phone. Now, this phone is a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. It's probably around, I don't know, $1,300. But you can get a phone for about $100. It's almost as good, right? It will be an Android. You don't need to go for the flashiest Apple iPhone. You start with there, right? You start posting about a topic, or you learn and you become number one in the world at some topic, right? Ye jo hai, now I want to be the number one in the world at branding countries. Yes?
Okay.
So is tarah koi topic jo bhi hai, you become obsessed with it. Yes? You guys are doing a podcast. You're on number 71. Most people quit after 3. Yes? Because they get some glitch on YouTube. YouTube suspends their account because it got hacked. या कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है. बट आई एम फ्रॉम अ कंप्यूटर साइंस बैकग्राउंड और मुझे पता है कि ये प्रॉब्लम्स हर किसी के पास आती हैं.
हमारा भी हैक हो चुका था.
हाँ,
बड़ी मुश्किल से रिकवर किया है. हमारे साथ भी बड़ा कुछ हुआ है.
We went through that too, yeah.
बड़ा एक गंदा प्रोसेस था, उसमें हैक हो गया, मुश्किल से रिकवर हुआ, बहुत कुछ हुआ बस.
But you're entrepreneurs. You persevered, right? And I don't mean that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I've done entrepreneurship and I've had mental health issues because of entrepreneurship, right? Because you know, the stress and all these things, you can do a job and you can create wealth as well, but you need some sort of system, right? You can have a job, and you guys have jobs, and you're doing this on the side, right? And yes. This thing, and creating wealth, it's not just money, right? Your digital assets, you have to learn what wealth is. Right now, people just think it's that number in your bank account or it's that property in your house. Yeah. But I can tell you, your personal brand can be worth more than your house. Yes? Imagine if आपके podcast को शहबाज शरीफ साहब सुन रहे हैं, राइट? आपके पॉडकास्ट को मियां मंशा सुनते हैं, राइट? आपके पॉडकास्ट को top 100 most influential, richest people in Pakistan सुनते हैं. Even if it's not the numbers, the $1 million, you showed me that your reels with 1 million views, even if it's 100, but if the right 100 people are watching it, you are going to change your destiny, right? But if you are in the room locked up and you're not looking at, if you're not, trying things, then no one's going to hear about your idea and, you're going to get nowhere. So aapne research karni hai, and there's a revolution happening right now, which is the AI revolution. There's so many people claiming to be experts in it. You can teach yourself AI very quickly. You can become an AI consultant. You can say, I will do, first client you find, you give them services for free. First 5 clients, give them services for free. You get the testimonial. Then you start charging a little bit. Then you charge a bit more. And as your confidence grows, आप ज़्यादा charge करते हैं. और ये आपकी advantage है कि आप in Pakistan, you can live on $1,000 a month. In New York City, you cannot live on $1,000 a month. right? तो ये मैं जो, like if I was creating a business, I would look at what Americans need. क्योंकि Americans हम लोग सारे we can understand English, and American is a big market, 330 million people. And if you can target America from here, understand what zip codes are. Zip codes are unke postcodes in the UK, they call it. You know that 90210 is a rich postcode. तो आप उधर targeting भी कर सकते हैं. You can go to LinkedIn, you can start reaching out to people. तो for instance, let's say
मैं यही क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछने वाला था. पाकिस्तानी बहुत टैलेंटेड हैं, इतना काम करते हैं, आप कहते हैं पाकिस्तानी. कैसे एक पाकिस्तानी बंदा एक अमेरिकन बंदे से कम्युनिकेट करे, कैसे क्लाइंट्स को लॉक कर सकता है?
It takes experimentation, and it takes finding your own rhythm, right? If you feel your English is good and you feel you speak well and you look good in front of a camera, you can go start a YouTube channel, right? And then start talking about a topic, a particular topic. Agar you're a better writer, start writing on the topic. Especially with ChatGPT and Gemini and all these AI tools, you can become a better writer, right? So you can go start there's different strategies, right? Sales and marketing, it's not about having one thing, it's about trying multiple things. So what I would do is start a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn, of all the social media, it's probably where the richest people hang out. Agreed? Because they are professionals. हम तीनों की LinkedIn accounts हैं, right? We're senior executives. I have, let's say at this stage, about 23,000 followers or friends on LinkedIn. अब मैं post करता हूँ, तो it doesn't reach everyone, but some of my posts get like 400,000 views.
400,000 views.
Yeah. And it's the algorithm that pushes it, because people can repost and reshare your content. So now I know people that have one strategy. So for instance, you can become an app developer. Now you don't need to be the coder, right? आप किसी भी company के पास जाएं that are good, ideally, because you need to believe in the product and service. और आप कहें कि अगर मैं आपको एक client लेके आता हूँ, आप मुझे 30% दे दें, मुझे तनख्वाह ना दें, तो आप मुझे तनख्वाह ना दें, तो आप मुझे 30% दे दें on commission. तो आप फिर LinkedIn में जाएं और and then you start talking about how to create apps, right? और आप उस topic पे ही बात करें and what makes a successful app. And then what you do is you start adding people on LinkedIn as well, senior executives in New York or California, right? You do searches for them. Free on LinkedIn, unless you want to invest $100 for Sales Navigator. But आप इतना करेंगे, तो then you are basically making commission sales. So that is one way to make money. Now there's hundreds and thousands of ways of doing it.
अच्छा, मैं अगर इसको समराइज़ करूँ, बिकॉज आई थिंक वेल्थ क्रिएशन इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक और इसमें लोगों को काफ़ी इंटरेस्ट भी होगा. तो अगर मैं इसको समराइज़ करूँ, तो आपने बताया कि टाइम को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से यूज़ करना है. अगर 9 to 5 जॉब कर रहे हैं तो 5 to 9 अपनी साइड हसल पे फोकस करना है. टाइम को लर्निंग के लिए भी अच्छे तरीके से यूज़ करना है और कुछ क्रिएट करना है. जो क्रिएट कर रहे हैं उसमें आपने बताया एआई को यूज़ करना है. जिस तरह आप अगर ब्लॉग पोस्टिंग कर रहे हैं तो आप एआई को यूज़ करते हैं ब्लॉग पोस्टिंग को रिफ़ाइन करने के लिए. सो व्हाटएवर समबडी इज़ डूइंग, वो जो भी काम कर रहे हैं उसमें वो एआई को यूज़ कर सकते हैं उसको रिफ़ाइन करने के लिए. और इसके अलावा तीसरी चीज़ आपने बताई थी कंसिस्टेंसी, जो कि अगेन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि जो भी आप करें आप उसको कंसिस्टेंटली करते रहें. इस सब के बाद एंड में आपने जिक्र किया अभी सेल्स और मार्केटिंग का. मुझे लगता है सेल्स और मार्केटिंग शायद इन सारे स्किल्स को इनकम्पस करता है, बिकॉज़ आप अपने टाइम को इफ़ेक्टिवली यूज़ कर लेंगे, आप सीख भी लेंगे, आप कुछ काम भी कर लेंगे, उसको एआई से रिफ़ाइन भी कर देंगे और आप कंसिस्टेंटली भी कर लेंगे. बट हाउ डू यू पैकेज दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, वो सारी वैल्यू जो आपने क्रिएट की है उसको अब आप कैसे पोजीशन करते हैं, कैसे मार्केट करते हैं, किस टाइम पे किन लोगों को किस तरह से मार्केट करते हैं, आई थिंक ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होगा. सो प्रॉब्ली अगर आप इस पर थोड़ा सा और एम्फसाइज कर सकें तो.
देखें, सेल्स एंड मार्केटिंग आपको स्टडी करनी पड़ेगी. यू स्टडी इट बाय एक्सपीरियंसिंग इट. जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में एक ब्रांड है चीज़ियोस, इट्स अमेजिंग पाकिस्तानी ब्रांड, और उनके आप देखें कि किस तरह उनका एक्सपीरियंस होता है. बट यू कैन ऑल्सो लुक एट एन इंडिविजुअल लेवल कि आप कोई चीज़ बेच रहे हैं. हाउ डू यू हैंडल अ क्लाइंट, व्हाट डू यू से, व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट यू शुड डू. जब मेरा first software company I made, or it was my second software company in 2003, I didn't know anything about sales and marketing. मैं computer science का बंदा था. I just knew how to make good software. But problem ये थी, just when I launched it into the marketplace, no one is using it. क्योंकि मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि लफ्ज़ भी होता है sales. तो फिर I went to a bookshop and bought a book on sales. And now what you can do is go to Google and say, what is sales? Give me top 10 tips on sales. And you can learn about it like any skill, right? But it is one of the most important skills you'll get in life. Because we're always selling. Agar aap job mein bhi ho na, you have to sell your ideas to your boss, right? If you are a parent, आपको अपने बच्चे को सेल करना है to go to sleep at certain hour and do their homework, etc. So you're always selling something to someone. So you need to learn and study it as much as possible. I'll give you a tip. For instance, there's a great book called Influence, Science and Practice by Robert Cialdini. It's one of the best books on influence I've read, and I read it over 25 years ago. So it's got the 6 laws of influence, right? If you just Google it, you'll find them. But one of them is on authority, right? So if we are seen as an authority, you are more likely to sell something. So if someone is like, this guy's an expert, then they will follow them. So for instance, आप बहुत सारे इश्तिहार देखते होंगे on internet with people with a Lamborghini or Ferrari, because they want to show that they're an authority on making money and they can make that money, and so you should buy their course on how to make money, right? In that same regard, if you are an author, it's also a way of being an authority, right? It's no coincidence that the word authority has the word author in it. So you can write a book on that topic. And what you can do is, आप उस किताब को अपने potential clients को भेजो for free, right? And because it's hard to sell books, but you can send them this book on this topic. जिस तरह आपका your field is digital marketing, right? So you could do digital marketing for dummies. You can't use for dummies because it's already a brand, but you can do top digital marketing tips and how to be a guru. And you can write a book on that. And then you can position yourself as a global expert, right? You don't have to be the best in Pakistan anymore, right? And you don't have to position yourself as the best in the Muslim world. Be the best in the world. Yes?
अच्छा, 2-3 टिप्स ऐसी दें जो वाकई मार्केटिंग की ऐसी हो जो मेरी लाइफ चेंज कर दे.
देखिए, marketing is believing in your product and selling something that you believe in, right? And giving something to someone of value that's going to improve their life at a reasonable price. And that price will be better if you sell it to someone that can afford more money. So, आप अपनी services, if you sell it to a rich client and that genuinely works, it's going to be very lucrative for you. And you get that way by being the best in what you're doing, right? And you be the best in what you're doing by starting as being the worst at what you're doing. You have no idea in the beginning. मगर आप जितना अपना art practice करेंगे, उतना आप बेहतर बनते जाएंगे. जिस तरह आप लोगों ने podcast, this is podcast 71, right? What was podcast number 1 like? maybe the light went out, the microphone wasn't working. I'm sure you've done podcasts where the audio didn't record correctly.
Yeah, we have.
So is tarah ki cheezein, but you've learned with that experience, right? Now you can become the best people in the world in podcasting. Yes? फिर आप podcast agency शुरू कर सकते हैं. Yes? We will sort out your podcast and we will do the editing, everything for you, and we'll coach you and we'll give you a podcast in a box solution. And we'll do it for you in New York. Yes? We'll charge you $10,000 for the setup and $2,000 a month retainer for editing it. Then you get 10 clients, that's $20,000 a month coming in. And so this is just an example for you guys because you're podcasters and you've gone through the pain of 70. And you have that credibility, that authority. People are paying for your stupidity tax, right? I call it the stupidity tax. जो हम लोग जब something new कर रहे होते हैं, तब we make a lot of mistakes. So don't beat yourself up. ये भी है कि life is a mental game. Like, if I can tell you one of my biggest lessons from my 48 years on this earth is the years I've lost because of self-doubt, right? कि मैं अपने आप को question करता था. If I go on a podcast, who wants to listen to me, right? If I write this book, who's going to read it? People are going to make fun of me. If I write this blog post on LinkedIn, my boss will see it and they'll fire me, right? All this self-doubt that was in my head, that stops me from progressing at the speed that I can go at. So aapko bhi, if you're selling, you have to believe, right? And the more passionate you are in your belief, the better you will be at it. Now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking about a message, right? I'm not selling you my services, but I'm selling you a message about the digital economy, right? Because I want you to make a lot more money. And I want your listeners to make a lot more money. And why I want them to do it? Because our country needs it. And it's not, jo aapke audience hai na, they have the most likely to make money from the digital economy. Jo the homeless guy who doesn't have a computer laptop scheme, by the way, like the Prime Minister's laptop scheme, giving away laptops for those that need it. I love those kinds of initiatives, right? Because that gives people a level playing field. Magar jo aapke podcast listeners hain, they have the ability to consume this content. They have the ability to create a product or service. They can copy you, right? They might not have that investment that you've put in the equipment, but they can start small, right? This phone is the greatest wealth generation device ever created. Yes, it's a newspaper, it's a radio station, it's a television station, it's a television studio, it's a sales machine, it's automated tools, and now with AI, it's it's another human as well, robot working for you. So you have your whole team in this phone, and this phone you can start from $100. Yes, so every person has that opportunity to do this. As I said, look into affiliate marketing as a beginning, and many of these things won't work. Right? Some people will start a podcast and 5 episodes in, they'll say that actually it's not for me. Some people will start affiliate marketing and say that, 6 months into it, it's not for me. Or koi log shuru karenge app development, yes, website development, and then they'll figure out that it's for them. But actually do the work, right? And get rid of that doubt that you can't do it. Have self-belief. And the first person you have to sell to is yourself. When you sell to yourself first, you believe, then it's easier. For me, I believe in the message of the internet. And, doing it for 26 years, I believe that it can change your life, right? And I'm preaching to the converted here. But I believe that it'll change our country really fast. My own mission in life, we're talking about purpose before this podcast began. is that an average Pakistani makes $1,500 a year. An average person in the world makes $12,000 a year. And an average American makes $70,000 a year, is to get Pakistan's GDP per capita to $12,000 a year, right? And I believe we can do that in the next decade, right? Because of digital. Not because the guy who has no computer is there, but because these people there's millions of us that can afford a computer, that can afford internet and Wi-Fi, and that can understand English and study. And studying English is also self-belief. जब मैं लोगों को hire करता था, मैं उनको उर्दू में बात करता था पहले, क्योंकि मैं अपनी उर्दू improve करना चाह रहा था. मगर फिर मैंने देखा कि they didn't have self-confidence in their English, even though they were graduates of universities from, let's say, University of Peshawar, UET, or any of these universities. Or कहते थे, like in the interview, I would interview a developer, and मैं उसको English में interview करता था. वो कहते हैं, sir, if you don't mind, उर्दू में कर सकते हैं. मैं कहा, you've studied these course books of computer science in English. You have that ability to understand English and speak it. But it's like a muscle. Because they haven't practiced it, तो वो बोलने नहीं कर सकते.
They are not fluent in English.
तो but you have to get rid of that self-doubt that people are going to be making fun of me and my English, and just speak. And because you're going to get a better audience for your wealth creation journey. Yes? Because if you can get an American, you're going to sell more, and he's going to afford better. So even Europeans, they speak English. The world speaks English as the global language. So now with ChatGPT, you can learn English as well, right? Through AI. So इस तरह की चीजें आ रही हैं जो will take our economy much faster at a much faster rate, right? So hopefully you guys are convinced and that there's opportunities in this. I'm not saying that there's one right script for everyone. Everyone is unique on the internet. You know, I believe there's 5 billion people. So if you're one in a million, there's 5,000 people just like you, right? You just have to find your way of online and your rhythm of how you're going to contribute to humanity. And when you find it, you're going to make wealth for yourself.
आपको क्या लगता है कि ऐसी क्या चीज़ें हैं जो ख़ास तौर पे बहुत स्पेसिफिक हो कि हम पाकिस्तान के डेमोग्राफिक्स में रहते हुए पाकिस्तानियों के बारे में जब सोचते हैं, तो जब आप इन्विजन करते हैं एक एवरेज पाकिस्तानी और आपको रियलाइज़ होता है कि देयर सो मच वेल्थ टू बी मेड जो कि वो नहीं बना रहा, क्या टॉप 3 कंट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं, क्या 3 टॉप वजूहात हैं जिनकी वजह से वो नहीं बना पा रहा? What's stopping him?
First is belief, right? अगर आपने किसी को देखा नहीं है इर्द गिर्द जो बना रहा हो, तो then you don't believe in it yourself, right? आप कहते हो कि यार it's impossible for me, it's okay for that guy. He studied abroad, he was born in UK, he had a good education, he's a good looking guy. Whatever it is, the excuses that you're making in your head, right? Okay, it was okay for this guy because he's got this. But for me, मैं Mansera से हूँ, मैं गाँव से हूँ, and I'm not in Silicon Valley. Yes? But there's all these people that have create wealth, like a lot of your people that come on your show. Follow these podcasts. This is a new way of educating, right? It's audio learning. Yes? Yeah. You can go for a walk, listen to this podcast, hopefully get a tip out of this. You take one tip that can change your life. Yes? Yeah. If you draw 2 parallel lines like this, they end up the same place. You change it 1 or 2 degrees, they end up in completely different place. Yes? So if you can take one action from this podcast and say, okay, I'm going to look at how I can earn money online. Yes, आज मुझे किसी ने phone किया, like some student who looked me up on LinkedIn, and I have my number listed there. तो वो कहता है कि, sir, do you mind if I call you for some advice? So I said, fine. तो वो कहता है कि I want to start earning money, मगर मुझे डर लगता है कि I'll be scammed. I've heard about all these scams. And like, you can't learn to swim unless you jump in the river, right? आप पढ़ने से तो नहीं सीख सकते ना swimming. So you are going to get ripped off. Your servers are going to go down. Your account will get hacked. You will run out of money. If I tell you all those things are going to happen before you start, it makes it easier, right? Because then you're going to persevere, right? You guys are persevered to 71. I want you to go to 1700. Yes? Those types of podcasts, your user growth is doing. You're having much more impact than teachers that teach in a classroom of 20. Yes? You're teaching people in their 40s that are listening to your podcast, 50s, 60s. And also I want to tell people, if you're 50, it's not too late, right? Like in this country, wo kehte hain, yaar, 60 pe, that's it.
Wait for death.
Wait for death. Average person in the world, in let's say US is 82. I know it's less in Pakistan, but people that are educated and well off that are probably listening to this podcast, they're going to live to their 80s at least. So that's 20 years of sitting around doing not much. When you have all this wisdom, and how do you get wisdom? By making mistakes, by doing stupid stuff. If I tell you all the stupid stuff, I'm very embarrassed by, but I'm not, because I know at some stage I'm going to write my book that'll say, I did this, and I gave my assistant access to my bank account to be able to pay my payroll. One assistant just took the money out of my account. So I learned a lesson. You have to limit the money you have in that account. But I was like, but at the beginning I was beating up myself in my head. How could I be this stupid? How could I trust someone? But then I was like, it was better that I did it when I had like $10,000 rather than, $10 million.
So you got a $10 million lesson on $10,000.
Yes. So ye hai ke life is stories, right?
Yeah.
Kahaniyan. You know why my posts are going viral? Because I've got experience, right? And how did I get experience? Because I did dumb things and I tried things, right? I moved out to California just on a whim to leave my job to do a startup, right? I had no clue what I was doing. And I failed, and I had $100,000 in my credit card bill debt when I was in my 20s. And it took me 3 years to pay that off, right? That was a hard lesson on messing up on starting a business. This is what you can do. I work for the government. I make mistakes, and I think this is, the government of Pakistan is paying me to learn from these mistakes. It's my job to try to figure out how to create wealth in the country for the citizens, right? So I think about that all the time. I'm thinking about that as a problem to solve. You don't have to go into wealth creation, right? Edie, if we look at him, वो उनने कितना impactful organization शुरू की है, like with these ambulances.
Yeah.
He wasn't about making money. You don't have to be about making money. The Citizens Foundation, जो schools and या Dil schools, and these are free or low-cost schools, जो जिसने innovate किए हैं, they didn't make it for profit, but they created it to create value in society.
Yeah.
Though I don't want to talk about you create wealth to have a Lamborghini and a big house that you can show off to your friends.
Yeah.
I talk about creating wealth because you're creating value for society.
Yeah. So first one that's stopping people from that is belief.
Yes.
What would be the second and third?
Would be education. So And I don't
Right
mean
education.
I don't mean कि आप जाके लम्स का ठप्पा लगाएं या हार्वर्ड बिजनेस स्कूल का ठप्पा लगाएं and have a degree. I mean self-education. वो यूनिवर्सिटी से ग्रेजुएट हो जाते हैं, they never read a book again,
Yeah.
right? They never listen to podcasts again. They listen to, they don't educate themselves further,
Yeah.
right? तो आपने अगर, if you want to be the best podcast person in the world, you need to listen to how to do better podcasts. You
Yeah.
need to research on it,
Yeah.
right? तो आपको अपने आप को self-educate करना है. And education doesn't, everyone has different ways of educating themselves,
Yeah.
right? मेरा है कि I like to meet people and learn from them, right?
Yeah.
I came into your podcast studio, मैं question पूछता हूँ, अच्छा ये कैमरा कितने का है, अच्छा ये माइक कितने का है. Be curious,
Yeah.
right? To study and ask people questions. Don't be shy. This guy who called me this morning for help and advice, he's like, मैं सोच रहा था आपको email करूँ मगर मैं डर रहा था कि आप मुझे जवाब नहीं देंगे. तो मैंने कहा, what is that fear of that? That's a fear of rejection, right? Don't have that fear. If I rejected him and didn't answer his podcast, his request, he'd go to another person and ask someone else, or he can ask me again in a week's time, and then again in a week's time, and until I block him, or the perseverance goes away. He has to do. You have to learn human empathy. कि आप लोगों को annoy नहीं करें, मगर you can be successful at learning this way. So education, self-education will make you a living.
And third would be fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection, looking stupid, right? How scared were you when you published your first podcast?
Do you have any regret in your life?
Well, that's a tough question, because when I'm going through a down period and I go through my questioning myself, like, what am I doing? Because they inevitably come, because it's a long journey. And if you have big goals, it comes. But I've made business mistakes for sure. And then I think actually that's learning. And then I've had relationship issues. I went through a separation. But then I think out of it, I got a son, and that we weren't aligned, and I couldn't follow my mission in life if two people aren't aligned. And so those types of things were a thing. And my biggest regret actually is self-doubt. And I've talked about it in this podcast, that I didn't believe in myself enough, like that self-confidence. It took me a long time I had it in spurts, but I didn't have it for consistency. Like, I started a business, it won the European Prize for Innovation, and people kept telling me, oh, you're crazy, you're not doing it right. And I listened to so many people and so many ideas before I let the market judge if they were the right things to do. So is tarah ki cheezein, like, I think that I would be, quote unquote, much further in my life if I just believed in myself more and I went out and did more. And I'm someone that's done quite a bit, right? But I just feel that I would be at that next level still.
And what was your happiest moment of your life?
Happiest? I mean, obviously it's son being born and these sort of things. But right now I'm happiest moments of my life is at the moment. I've got emotional just this morning when I was thinking that I'm staying with my parents. They're still around. And when I see, on social media, you see so many condolences and, people's parents passing away, and you're grateful that I'm living, I'm comfortably living. I'm earning well. I have a good relationship with my son. I have a good relationship with my ex-wife. I have a good relationship with my family. I have a job that I'm passionate about. I mentor people. So someone, like a 19-year-old student, called me this morning to get some mentorship from me. And I was like, I was just happy that I could help him. And I just feel privileged that I've been able to travel the world. and experience a rich life, and I'm in a good place because life has its seasons, and for me right now it's summer, right? But I know that I've gone through winter, and winter will come again. So I just when it's summer, I'm enjoying it. So I'm privileged. Like, you know, I was writing blog posts, no one was listening to me, and then something took off, and then I wrote a blog post on parathas and how much they cost, and it got 400,000 views or something, which for a writer, I didn't make money on it, but I just found myself that actually some things are resonating.
Yeah.
And then it led to this podcast. I've seen your guys' podcast come across, and I was like, I want to be on this thing, and it's happening, right? So I'm back in Islamabad. Like, it took me a while to move back to Pakistan. I feel like I'm living on purpose, which is really, really a blessing. Because I was lucky. By the age of 21, I was earning more money than I could spend. I was dating beautiful women. I was flying business class. I had a dream job, and I was miserable. And I was thinking, what has gone wrong? This is everything that should be right. But I wasn't on purpose. And now I'm on purpose. Just speaking on this podcast, teaching a few people about, hopefully inspiring at least one person to go out and try their business, right? And if it's not a business, try for a job or try for a university, right? One other regret, I had great academics and great SAT scores, and I didn't apply to Harvard Business School. When I was doing my MBA, I went to a Swiss business school, IMD it's called. It's ranked number 1 in Europe. But I was like, oh, it's a 1 year, and Harvard is 2 years, and I don't want to go to the US because I have visa problems. But what I learned is if you go to a famous university, you get credibility faster. Yeah. So now I have to, like, when I tell people I went to IMD Business School, I always say Switzerland because I have to do the brand association with Switzerland rather than with, Harvard is Harvard. Harvard. And I was like, at least I should have applied because I had the GMATs and all that stuff for that level. And I likely would have gotten in, but I didn't apply, so I don't know. And this is a regret. So I want people that are thinking about applying to a university to apply, that are thinking about asking out a girl to ask, that are thinking about starting a business to start.
आपने बात की बीच में self belief की, and you mentioned that it would have taken you a lot further in your life if you sort of had developed that self belief earlier. इस पे थोड़ा सा अगर हम और टच करें, like what was sort of your age when you realized कि मुझे self belief को बढ़ाना है, and how much of an amplification it actually brought to your life? How much does it drive the purpose?
देखें, self belief मुझे, it comes in spurts, right? I can't say, like, I had super confident. I was high school president. I was elected my graduation speaker in my MBA class. I won the European Prize for Innovation. Little things, right? I went to a coach, a life coach in the UK, and I've done many coaches and psychologists and psychiatrists and everything to help me with my mindset, right? And this one was, his name is Michael Serva. He's one of the most expensive coaches in the world. And उसने कहा कि he gives you a session for 3 hours, right? उसने कहा, tell me about your life. तो मैंने उसको कहा कि, for instance, I was school president. And he says, you know what? You can make it. Because if you've done it once, something that you won, no matter how small it was, you can be a winner in life, right? तो ये इस तरह के मुझे points मिले कि you have to, एक और बंदा है, David Goggins. He says, put in the cookie jar. तो मैंने अपनी चीज़ें डाली हुई हैं in my cookie jar. कि मैंने, like I got an A in some test in school, which I didn't think I could get. So those types of things, those types of small wins, if you get a star, like I see my 8-year-old son get a star and he's so happy about it. These are just human made.
Yeah. I've heard about the cookie jar and how much of all this adds up, खास तौर पे क्योंकि at the end of the day, कोई भी skill है, कुछ भी है, you can talk about learning and you can talk about implementing, but the driving force probably is the mindset behind it. If you're convinced, then you would persevere. That's how it happens, right? If you are sure about your why part, if you're convinced कि मैंने ये इसलिए करना है, the mindset is there.
Yes, you can go much faster, right? अगर आप हमेशा doubt करते रहते हो, especially I didn't know about this doubt, self-doubt stuff. I've learned it over time and years and going through it. क्योंकि आपके, like, your parents are going to say, what are you, crazy? Starting a business, go for a safe job. Like many people are going to tell you no, right? So if you're doing sales, for instance, they'll teach you to pick up the phone or solo calling banao. But if you don't believe it, it's going to come across in your voice, right? Aapke, even
energy change हो जाती है.
Energy change हो जाती है. Abhi bhi, like we did the podcast and I was like, actually, the second half of this podcast, I'm enjoying a lot more so I can talk with more energy because I want to talk about mindset because it's so important for people to understand, right?
Yeah.
And I think we as a nation, when we talk about branding Pakistan, if our self-confidence is up, if we're not moaning and whinging about कि यार पाकिस्तान में कुछ होता नहीं है, बिजली नहीं होती, यार crime rate कितना है, but look at your own life. It's actually not that bad, right? When you observe it.
Yeah.
And you have to come in with a positive attitude to life, right? And if you come in with a positive attitude, and you can have a positive attitude when you don't have money in the bank, you're single, or you've gone through a divorce, you've lost your job, you didn't get into a university of your choice, you failed an exam, you can still have a positive attitude on life, right? Because you end up somewhere and you realize there was a benefit to it. The reason that maybe I don't think it's much of a regret right now about my self-doubt thing, because I'm in my summer period, is because because I did the suffering so that I can now help other people not suffer as much, right? So if I can help people, because my journey took me longer and I'm still on that journey, but अगर मैं और लोगों को help कर सकता हूँ because I went through that. If I was like Mark Zuckerberg and at 21 years old became a multi-billionaire, you couldn't relate to me, right? But I'm a 48-year-old that started doing businesses and corporate career at 21, and that didn't make $1 million straight away. That is more of a journey.
जो आपने अभी बात की कि आपकी ज़िंदगी में उस माइंडसेट का जो रोल है, आपने बताया कि you can see that it's summer.
Yeah.
What is winter for you? And how do you cope with the winter again?
Winter for me is I can't get out of bed sometimes. Like I've done that. Okay, I've been under the duvet and stressed, and just all I can see is dark. Okay, things are not going to work out. Sad thoughts.
And it's more related to just the feeling.
Yeah, feeling.
Not feeling like it or not happy about things around you.
I can't be productive because I'm not thinking I think that it's the end, right? That I just made too many mistakes. And I talk to myself, like inside all of us is a 7-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And imagine if you talk to a 7-year-old kid like, "Tum kaise bache ho yaar? You're so stupid. Is tarah ki baatein karo." So you wouldn't talk to someone else's kid like that. Magar inside my own self, I'm talking to myself like beating myself up, right? I've gotten, now my winters are better because I've like catch myself doing it.
Developed a coping mechanism around it.
So I learned to do that. And then I also don't beat myself up about beating myself up. So I give myself one task to do, go for a haircut, for the day. That's my task, to have my haircut, or write one page in a book, or go for a walk for 5 minutes. So I'm not beating myself up for not going for the gym. Is tarah ki cheezein.
So that's your coping mechanism.
Ji.
So it's more like going out and doing some small stuff that's maybe not something that requires a lot of thinking, a lot of maybe doing. It's just simple, plain stuff. Just get up and go out and do it.
Yeah, emotion follows motion, So if you're lying in bed, curled up under a kambal, to wo up, you're not going to be in the same frame of mind. But if you go for a walk, automatically it's going to make you feel better, right? So those types of coping mechanisms, call a friend, go for a coffee, listen to music, is tarah ki cheezein bhi I do, right? But best is, going to the gym, something like that. Yeah.
क्या एडवाइस देना चाहेंगे पाकिस्तानी यंग बच्चों को?
Just go out and make your life as beautiful as it can be. And you can not go through it suffering, right? Suffering happens to all of us. Magar you can minimize it because it's all in your head. This is just a game. It's a short life, 80 years, right? You are gonna go through your seasons and enjoy the journey, because it's not about making the $1 million. It's not about having the big house. It's not about the woman that you meet or the man that you meet. It's about in here, and you don't have to reach that goal to be happy and satisfied and feeling good about yourself. If you're inside here, and then pick a direction, go try things. If it doesn't work out, you can always reverse and try something else, right? It's not a zero-sum game. It's not a one-way ticket. You can go, like, there's no one journey. Especially, देखें हमारे parents की generation में, they got married, they got a job, they stuck with the same job for 40 years, they retired. They stuck with the same relationship, even if they weren't happy, they made it happen. Now, if the relationship isn't working out, exit it. If the job isn't working out, exit it, right? If your business isn't working out, you can exit it and go get a job. So there's a lot more opportunity than at any other point in history. We have the same capability to learn as someone studying at Harvard or Stanford, right? आप Harvard के articles free में पढ़ सकते हैं online. उनकी classes ले सकते हैं. You can get the best education in the world from sitting in Pakistan. And you can live a very, very successful, you don't have to immigrate if you innovate, right? So यहाँ से आप बैठ के, you can create wealth. And I see it. I talk to people all the time. I meet people all the time, and you wouldn't know that they have a lot of wealth. Because it's not necessary they're driving a Mercedes, right? They're driving a simple car. मगर मुझे मेरे ऑफिस में आते हैं. There's some IT young kid the other day came. He's 24, makes $4 million a year.
$4 million.
Yeah, simple kid. And you wouldn't know. It's the same as you and me sitting here. I've met billionaires in my life, and it's not, I don't meet them and go, oh my God, he's so different than us.
What's that kid is doing?
What that kid is doing?
Yeah.
Web services. He's selling websites. All, like so many IT companies are doing, thousands of them, but he's just damn good at it. He's good at sales. He's good at marketing. He knows how to do it.
That's a good thing.
He has hundreds of people working for him here. creating hundreds of jobs. It's a responsibility of an entrepreneur, you know. जब मैं पहले entrepreneur बना था, मैं सोच रहा था I would become free, and it would give me freedom from a job, and you know, freedom. But I had, at the age of 22, I had like 6 employees, and I was stressed about meeting their payroll, और उनकी responsibility आपके पास आ जाती है. So when you start a business, if you have 100 employees, that's 100 people that are relying on you to feed their families every month. So if you make bad decisions, 100 people lose their jobs, right? तो इस तरह के भी आपको देखना होता है कि it's like, that's why I love entrepreneurs, and I'm very empathetic as a government employee as well, कि हम लोग entrepreneurs को help करें, क्योंकि उनके जितना delay होता है, if they don't make wealth, people lose jobs, and when they lose jobs, families suffer.
Thank you very much for your time. I think बड़ी अच्छी discussion रही और very depth. I think this is the longest one we have recorded.
For sure.
For sure, this is the longest podcast we have done so far. Thank you very much once again.
But
for
I
your
think
time.
we can keep on going for maybe another hour as well. It was so insightful. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. And as I said, you guys are doing great work.
Thank you.
And it's a service to the country to pass on educational content. As you've got that Think and Grow Rich book in your shelf, and we talked about it before.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, start with Think and Grow Rich book. I think it's available online for free, or look at it, YouTube videos. You can get a copy of my book, Wealthology, The Art of Wealth Creation, for free online. You know, there's so much content to get started, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.